Hello everyone, and how are you doing? My name is For Extraordinaire, and I can't believe that it's August and we are already a week away from Humankind. Summers, specifically this one, have not been kind to strategy games in general, and it feels like there are always a few interesting releases here and there during the year, and for the summer, everyone decides to drop off and do nothing for 3 months, myself included. One thing that hasn't dropped off though is the absurd amount of people on social media platforms calling Humankind a Civ Clone. While I am certainly not a shill for Amplitude Studios, after having played all of the open devs to completion and having hundreds of hours in Civ 6, I can't help but feel that these claims can't be further from the truth. On the contrary, I can see how some design decisions for the game may seem all too similar to Civ 6, but as I will explain, both Amplitude and Firaxis have been borrowing each other's ideas for quite some time now. It is true that Civ 6 and Humankind do have quite a lot in common, but that only makes sense as both are 4X games within the very niche genre of historical sandbox simulators. What exactly do I mean by this? Well, Humankind and Civilization both revolve around you creating an empire based around real-life civilizations where you compete against other enemy civilizations with the end goal of being the most prosperous or dominant empire. Another broad concept shared between the two is that both use districts to simulate city sprawl, along with maps being hex-based. And now that I have talked briefly about a few of their similarities, let me tell you about what sets both games apart from each other. For starters, Humankind does not have one static quote-unquote empire that you play as. In Civ 6, you would normally pick an empire like the Indonesians and play as them for the rest of the game. Humankind relies on a different approach to world building, having the player start off as a Neolithic tribe and then selecting different cultures as each era progresses to build a truly diverse empire. Another difference between the two, and perhaps the most noticeable at first glance, is the art style. Humankind, having started development much later than Civilization 6, uses a much more realistic and polished art style with defined biomes and regions. Civ 6 has a bit of an upper hand in terms of making the world feel alive though. Golden ages and natural disasters feel like no-brainers that have greatly enhanced the gaming experience for me, and their absence is without a doubt a big downside to Amplitude's freshest take. As I mentioned earlier, Humankind also uses districts. However, it is interesting to note that Civ 6 was not the first game to come up with the concept within the genre. Endless Legend, the fantasy sandbox prior to Humankind, relied on districts to shake up gameplay and give players a feeling of familiarity. While it is true that Humankind borrows ideas from Civ 6 like science, civics, and empire building, Civ 6 does not get off completely scot-free, considering just how similar Civ 6's design system is to Endless Legends. Now, there are still some differences between the two, but Civ 6 was definitely inspired in part by the Endless series. Before I get on to the last half of this video, if you have been enjoying my commentary so far, please leave a like and subscribe to help support the channel. It can be very hard to get my videos out into the spotlight, especially for hot topics like Humankind, and I put a lot of effort into these videos without any monetary compensation whatsoever at the moment. If you can't, I still appreciate that you have made it this far into the video. As I have covered some of the more surface level similarities and differences between these two games, I want to take the chance to mention some of the deeper mechanics. Regardless of your take on the matter, I think any 4X player would be hard pressed to claim that Humankind's government system is a copy of Civilization 6. In Civ 6, you would unlock policy cards and governments as you advance through the ages, and each government confers unique gameplay bonuses to add variety to the game. If you decide to play Humankind, you'll discover that Amplitude has taken a different and more direct approach to governmental affairs. Through events, a feature that surprisingly aren't present in Civ 6, you can choose decisions that will steer your empire in one direction or the other. For example, if I want to choose to worship ferrets over cats, I might be guiding my civilization to be more progressive, which, over time, grants my empire unique bonuses tailored to that idea. Since events are random and can be quite spontaneous at times, I have found at least, though certain events do have follow-ups, there are laws and edicts that rulers can enact to become more progressive or traditional, militaristic, or pacifist, and so on and so forth. As a final note, while I will not deny that both games have their similarities, I do enjoy both and I believe that there will be enough variation between the two to separate them in the market, even if consumers, at first glance, don't. In order to not drag this video on for too long, I suggest playing both games and comparing them yourself if you are still not concerned. There is a lot in this game, if you can see just by looking at the footage that I'm presenting here, and I think that even after a few hundred hours, there are still going to be little secrets in the game for us to discover that really differentiate this game from other 4X games, and in general, the genre as a whole. However, with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video and have a great rest of the day. This has been For Extraordinaire, and peace.